This week's scripture could not have been more appropriate for what is happening here at St. Aidan's Church, individually as well as together. With the death of Cheryl's mom, I have been given the challenge and the privilege to speak to you this morning, kind of like being cast adrift in the storm. Following my meeting with Cheryl before she left, I looked at an already completed bulletin and contemplated what all of this meant and how can I speak about the topic of when leadership is asleep. I listened to Cheryl's perception, got a few ideas of what I might offer, and then by chance or by grace, I was involved in a few conversations that allowed me to synthesize what will hopefully be meaningful to you this morning as individuals, as members and friends of St. Aidan's, and as Christians. Much of our focus and our energy for the past 2 years has been around the same subject: amalgamation. I probably did not even have to say the word. We all know what the challenges are. Some we don't even know yet. But we know what has happened so far in the past couple of years. The upside is that we are now in a place of understanding that we are no longer sustainable on our own, and that we are trusting each other at St. Aidan's and Cadborough Bay, that we can and are continuing this journey into a new way of being church together. I believe we have even come to the place of saying, okay, let's get on with it. What's next? Wherein lies the question of leadership being asleep? Are we ready for this new, scary, challenging way of being church? Are we open to listening to ideas, plans, possibilities? Are we brave enough to be vulnerable, to talk about our thoughts and dreams that may also be possibilities as we move forward? Do we make time for what is a huge part of being one who says, I attend St. Aidan's? With all these questions in mind, I am aware that there is to be a cameo event this Saturday with what will be open discussion on, for lack of another word, amalgamation. The cameo email reads, Program. Cheryl Black and Mark Green will lead a lively discussion on when, where, how, and why of amalgamation. All questions and points of view will be encouraged. For those of you who may not know, CAMEO is an acronym for Come and Meet Each Other, a social group here at St. Aidan's who meet monthly to enjoy programs, discussion, games, and food together. It is open to anyone who is interested in connecting. Now it's my turn to be vulnerable, to speak my thoughts about why at the CAMEO group, and how can all this happen, and where are we going to be in 2 or 4 or 5 years from now? I'll start with why at CAMEO. This is a gathering of many St. Aidan's members and friends who are open to discussions, educated in many areas, and have life skills to create new and exciting visions. Why not CAMEO? As for the when, where, and how, I don't know. You don't know. Mark and Cheryl and the other leaders in the staffing, governance, finances, and facility groups don't know. If we feel that it is not our place to speak, it will not be. If we feel that we are being judged, we probably are. However, do we challenge ourselves to speak our truth about what could be and listen to others and brainstorm and find answers together? Not just with Cameo, with the church, with everything we do in life. We are all in this big picture together. How we perceive where we fit is our own personal story. As the disciples on the boat that day, they were already chosen. They are the leaders. Yet in the stormy times, we turn to greater leadership for answers. So sometimes we are the leaders, and sometimes we are looking for answers. I have spoken about my volunteer commitment to Gorge View Society and the work that we have been doing for the last 2 years. Please indulge me as I compare this to what Cadborough Bay St. Aidan's is experiencing. Gorge View Society is a low-income, independent housing for 108 seniors. It began in the mid-50s as housing for retired ministry with very little pension, expanded to their spouses, and then opened to the community with specific criteria for eligibility. The board was a working board, handling most of the maintenance and the upkeep, and about every 10 years we're able to add another small building to house a few more people. In the past few years, it became obvious that this way of being was no longer viable nor sustainable, and that something new needed to happen. The board chose to do some strategic planning about 1.5 years ago. It was decided that we would hire an executive director and develop the property and create more sustainable housing for seniors and add families to the mix. This has not been an easy journey. The residents, staff, and board have had to change. Good word, hey? The way we operate, the way we volunteer, even the way as leadership we think. It's a challenging process because sometimes we don't even know the questions to ask. In the end, which is also a new beginning, we made big decisions that have altered Gorge View tremendously and will benefit many more folks in the future. The board of today may not be there in 5 or 10 or 20 years, but the life and work of Gorge View will hopefully live on to benefit low-income folks in Victoria, adding to their life dignity and quality of life. None of us here know where we will be in the next 5 or 10 or 20 years. But we know that as United Church folk, we want to make a difference. We want to create not only for ourselves, but for those who will find hope and peace and joy and love within our structure, whatever that may look like. Who do we have in mind as we make decisions in our lives? We know it depends on what the decision is, on whom it will impact. We also know that in our ever-changing lives, both personally and for the church, we will wonder in retrospect if we made the right choice. We don't know that either. but we want our voices to be heard. We want to be connected with the bigger picture. Like the disciples, we have already been chosen. We ask questions, we ponder, we argue, we get stressed and confused with what the big picture might be. And like the disciples, we also experience storms, sometimes even sleeping through them, and sometimes needing to be woken up to the reality that we are not alone. Know that you are here for a purpose, that what you do and say impacts those around you every day, that you will leave a legacy for those who come after us. Let's wake up to our faith, our continuing journey, our connections with ourselves and our Creator. I encourage you to have continuing conversation with each other around this challenging and exciting work. Please come and speak to me if you have anything to share. Speak up to the group next Saturday, knowing you will be heard. May we find the grace, wisdom, and compassion and respect for each other that is essential on this journey. May it be so, and amen.